Welcome to Breaking News to Trading Moves. Today we're focusing entirely on a recent announcement out of Beijing, one that could affect supply lines for certain components here in the U.S. market. We're looking at China's tightening of rare earth export controls.
That's right. And it's important to note this isn't just a standard export tweak. News reports clarified that Beijing is restricting the processing technology itself and limiting licenses, particularly aimed at, well, overseas users in defense and advanced semiconductor manufacturing.
So quite targeted then.
Very targeted. It seems aimed right at advanced manufacturing outside China.
Okay. So for those of you tracking industries that depend on these materials, and that's everything from, say, guided missiles to EVs, you'll want to understand the pressure points here. Our goal today is just to review the implications for different sectors in the U.S. market. We'll break down who might benefit and who faces new challenges based strictly on the reported information. Let's start with the potential beneficiaries.
Yeah.
So companies that seem positioned for, well, a positive outcome from these new controls. The first group seems to be U.S. rare earth mining and, crucially, primary processing companies.
Right. The thinking here is pretty straightforward market dynamics mixed with geopolitics. When the main global supplier tightens the reins, especially on the refinement know-how, U.S. domestic options suddenly look much better. You get the scarcity premium, which helps pricing, and it encourages funding for building out that domestic supply chain.
We're talking about actual domestic capacity then.
Oh.
Are there specific companies that are particularly sensitive here?
Yeah, the obvious one is MP Materials, that's ticker MP. They operate the Mountain Pass mine in Nevada. And importantly, they're also working on processing capacity down in Texas.
Okay.
Then there's Energy Fuels, ticker UUUU. They have U.S. separation capacity for rare earth oxides. They're directly in line to benefit from this push for, more self-reliance in these critical materials.
But let me just jump in there with MP Materials. Well, Mountain Pass is a major asset. Don't they still send a good chunk of their output overseas for some final steps, for separation and refinement?
That's a fair point.
So is their benefit only partial until that Texas facility is completely up and running?
Well, yes, full vertical integration is the end goal. But the market looks at the direction things are heading. These controls essentially raise the business case, the potential profit for getting that full integration done faster. U.S. policy wants decoupling, and any restriction from Beijing just strengthens the argument, the financial argument, for a complete domestic chain, even if it takes time.
Okay, that makes sense. It sort of de-risks the investment needed. All right, moving to the second group of potential beneficiaries. Companies making advanced materials and components, specifically those made here in the U.S.
Yeah, for this group, these controls really accelerate trends that were already happening, like substitution and reshoring. Think about defense contractors or specialized electronics makers. They just can't handle uncertainty in their component supply. So as the risk goes up for materials needing foreign licenses, orders tend to shift towards domestic specialty alloys and engineered materials. Companies will pay more for reliability.
And speed, I imagine.
And speed, exactly.
So who are some of these domestic specialty players that might see increased interest?
Materion comes to mind, ticker MTRN. They supply advanced materials for aerospace, electronics, complex stuff. Their whole model is partly built on offering these alternatives. Another good example is ATI, ticker ATI. They produce specialty metals, and they're heavily tied into defense and high-end industrial demand. When prime contractors start worrying about magnets for, say, 2026, 2027 deliveries, they're going to talk to these established U.S. partners first.
Okay. Now, the third group, seeing maybe some positive momentum, is a bit more downstream, perhaps. EV and drivetrain suppliers already working on rare earth-free motors.
Exactly. This gives them a kind of competitive edge. See, the standard permanent magnet motors, the PM motors, they rely heavily on things like neodymium and dysprosium. Those are the elements facing cost pressures and these geopolitical issues now. So automakers are taking another look at their designs. They're considering alternatives like induction motors or ferrite solutions more seriously.
Can you quickly explain the trade-off there for listeners? Why were permanent magnets so popular in the first place if they carry this risk?
Well, PM motors pack a punch. They're very power-dense, small, light, and very efficient. That's great for maximizing EV range. But induction motors, while maybe a bit larger or sometimes slightly less efficient, they don't need any rare earths. Totally stable supply chain from that perspective.
Ah, okay.
So the calculation now is shifting. The cost of reliability of avoiding these supply chain risks might start to outweigh a small hit in efficiency for some applications. Suppliers who offer both options suddenly look pretty good.
But changing motor types sounds like a big deal for an automaker. They've invested billions in their current EV platforms. Is this shift really happening fast enough for suppliers to see big gains soon? Or is it more of a longer-term strategic advantage?
It's definitely a long-term strategic advantage, but it gives them negotiation leverage now. Take Borg-Warner, ticker BWA. They supply power electronics, e-axles, and they've deliberately invested in different motor types. They can go to automakers and say, look, worried about rare earth risks? We've got an induction solution ready to go.
Right, they have the alternative ready.
Precisely. And similarly, Aptiv, ticker APTV, they do the electrified powertrain systems, the high-voltage architecture. Their systems enable automakers to adopt these alternative motors in new vehicles, so their diversified approach is now a real selling point.
That covers the potential upside pretty well. Now, we need to flip the coin and look at the other side. Let's talk about the groups facing pressure because of these controls, the exposed parties. And we probably have to start with the big U.S. defense primes, right? They rely heavily on rare earth magnets.
Yes, they're strategically exposed because the controls specifically mention targeting overseas defense users. This is an abstract risk. It means potential delays getting licenses for key components. It means higher costs, almost certainly. And we're talking about magnets that are absolutely essential for modern systems. Think high-tech radars, precision actuators and missile guidance, specialized materials for electronic warfare.
That sounds like broad exposure across the sector. Which specific defense companies seem most linked based on their products?
You see it across the major players. Lockheed Martin, ticker LMT, relies on them for missiles, fighter jets like the F-35, radar systems. Raytheon, now RTX, ticker RTX, needs them for their advanced mission systems and sensors. And Northrop Grumman, ticker NOC, uses these components extensively in electronic warfare systems and aerospace platforms. For these companies, predictable supply is everything. New government rules like this just add friction to their planning, especially for multi-year programs.
Okay, next category facing some pressure: U.S. semiconductor equipment makers and the advanced chip supply chain. Now, why would controls on magnets affect chip tool builders? That connection might not be immediately clear.
Yeah, it's because building modern wafer fab equipment is incredibly complex. You're working at the nanometer scale. To get that precision, you need highly specialized materials, ultra-pure components inside the machines themselves. These controls could mean case-by-case approvals, stricter rules on the magnet technology used within the semiconductor tools. We aren't talking about refrigerator magnets here. These are ultra-pure, high-strength magnets needed for things like plasma control, electron beam steering, vacuum systems, and the most advanced tools that deposit or etch materials onto wafers.
So if getting those specific magnets or components is delayed.
Exactly. It can slow down building new tools or even getting spare parts for maintenance on existing ones.
Which ultimately affects chip production capacity.
Precisely. Any friction on these specialized inputs has knock-on effects. The companies most exposed here are the big equipment players. Applied Materials, ticker AMAT, they have a huge footprint in wafer fab equipment. Lam Research, ticker LRCX, their etch and deposition tools depend on these complex material inputs. And KLA, ticker KLAC, known for metrology and inspection, their gear also relies on specialized materials and parts for extreme precision.
Okay, that makes the link clear.
Right.
Finally, let's turn to U.S. automakers, specifically those currently committed to using permanent magnet motors in their EVs.
Right. For them, the risks are mainly around cost and sourcing reliability as they ramp up EV production. As we discussed, PM motors need neodymium and dysprosium, so you've got potentially higher costs for these now constrained materials, plus this new licensing uncertainty. It directly hits their bill of materials, the cost to build each car, and it adds supply chain risk to their big EV platform rollouts. This puts pressure on margins, particularly for mass-market EVs, where things are already tight.
Which automakers seem most exposed based on their current EV motor strategies?
Well, General Motors, ticker GM, uses PM motor technology in current and upcoming EVs. Ford, ticker F, is also scaling up EV programs that currently rely on magnet-heavy drivetrains.
And even premium makers.
Yes, even premium EV companies like Lucid Group, ticker LCID, they are sensitive to these material costs. Their high-performance vehicles often really benefit from the power density of PM motors.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap what we've walked through. It seems like this new export policy creates a clear tension. On one side, you have domestic material suppliers, maybe some advanced component makers, and certain EV tech suppliers who could gain from scarcity and the push for domestic supply chains. On the other side, major players in defense, automotive, and semiconductor equipment now face new hurdles, supply friction, potential cost increases partly due to past design choices, and complex global manufacturing realities.
Yeah, I think what this news really underscores is just how interconnected and perhaps fragile some parts of modern technology supply chains are. It makes you think about how many different sectors, from missile defense to the phone in your pocket to the car you might drive, all rely on this one specific category of materials. And the cost of that reliance, well, it seems to be going up for those who didn't have a domestic backup plan ready.
This discussion is not financial advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any assets. This is purely the opinion of the author and analysis of the reported facts.